So I learned about cannabis as a medicinal plant 30 years ago when I was in herb school. And at the time I didn't pay it much mind because cannabis was illegal and very, very expensive. And there were plenty of other wonderful herbs to choose from. So I didn't really pay much attention to cannabis as a medicinal plant back then. So fast forward to about 7 years ago, my 16-year-old daughter had some really, really significant mental health problems. And I was trying everything I could think of to try to help her, and she was not in a good place at all. I read about CBD, and I was like, well, okay, what the hell, we'll give it a shot. And we tried it, and I was absolutely astounded at the difference it made for her. Within 3 days, she had gone essentially from unstable to stable. Things were not good at the time. She'd spent 16 days in a psychiatric hospital. She was really in bad shape. Things were a mess. And when she started CBD, it was like she was a different person. And at that point, I was like, damn, I've got to learn a lot more about this plant. And I did, and things just kind of took off from there, and here I am now. I have a CBD business. I never would have anticipated that would happen, but I'm loving it. I'm having a great time with it. So today I'm going to talk about what is CBD, how does CBD work, what is CBD used for, how to take CBD, and how to source quality CBD. So first of all, what is CBD? CBD comes from the cannabis plant, and cannabis can pretty much be divided into two categories. Hemp, which is less than 0.3% THC by legal definition, and cannabis, which is greater than 0.3% CBD. It is the same plant, it's the same species, it's just got different breeding. So to use an analogy, if you think of pepper plants, you can grow a pepper that's completely mild with no spice to it at all, like a regular bell pepper, or you can grow a pepper like a ghost pepper, which is so spicy that there's almost nobody who can eat them because they're so spicy. Same plant, same species, different breeding. And it's the same with cannabis. Different breeding produces different effects in the plant. So cannabinoids are constituents in the cannabis plant. THC is the one that gets you high. CBD does not get you high, but it does have a broad range of effects in the body and the brain. CBD is extracted from the flower or bud of the cannabis plant. There's a little bit of CBD in the leaves, but essentially no CBD in hemp seeds or the stalks or the stems. So the highest quality medicine will be made just from the flower itself. So how does CBD work? CBD interacts with our endocannabinoid system. All mammals and all invertebrates have an endocannabinoid system, which consists of cannabinoids that we make ourselves, endocannabinoids. They're very similar in structure to the plant cannabinoids, and they work with the same receptors. So the system is a network of the cannabinoids we make ourselves and receptors that those cannabinoids interact with, and then enzymes to recycle the cannabinoids when they're done being used. There are cannabinoids made and receptors everywhere throughout our bodies, in almost every organ and tissue, and lots of them in the brain. The endocannabinoid system is primarily responsible for maintaining homeostasis or balance in the body. For example, when we have a fight or flight reaction and we get that big surge of adrenaline and we're super stressed out, the endocannabinoid system is what's responsible for bringing everything back down into a state of calm. It's always trying to maintain balance, bringing us back to center. The endocannabinoid system interacts with almost every other system in the body, and it's responsible for some really critical functions of the body, such as immunity, inflammation, pain regulation, mood, sleep, metabolism, digestion, memory, and learning. So some really critical things, and without our endocannabinoid system, we wouldn't survive. It's absolutely essential. Because of lifestyle factors or health issues, a lot of us have deficiencies in our endocannabinoid system. So the cannabinoids that we make are not really sufficient to do the job properly. And that can end up with some disorders and ailments and ultimately into some diseases. So that CBD works by interacting with those receptors in our endocannabinoid system to naturally boost our levels of cannabinoids so everything functions more optimally. What is CBD used for? CBD primarily is used for pain, anxious thinking or stress, or difficulty sleeping. But because it works everywhere throughout our bodies, it's used for a really broad range of conditions, and there's some really exciting research going on into medical conditions being treated with CBD and other cannabinoids. How to take CBD. So CBD can be used internally or externally. Internally, you can take CBD by eating an edible that's made with CBD. You can put some drops, like CBD oil drops, into some food or drink, or you can swallow a capsule of CBD. Or you can use it sublingually, my favorite way to take CBD. That's putting the drops directly under the tongue and letting them absorb sublingually into the big blood vessels under the tongue. That gives you a faster and more a higher quality reaction to the CBD. Orally is fine, you would just have to increase your dose a little more. You can also smoke or vape hemp or vape oil. Externally, you can use a topical product like a rub or a body butter or a salve, or you can use a transdermal product, which is a medication patch that delivers a set amount of CBD to the body over a set amount of time, like other medication patches. And why choose different methods? It really depends on what you're treating. So if you've got sore places on different parts of your body, say you've got a sore knee or something like that, a topical works fabulously well when applied directly to that area. It delivers a very focused effect on that body part, and it's absorbed into the deeper tissues but not all the way to the bloodstream. So when you use something topically, it won't circulate throughout your body to treat anything internally. It won't go up to your brain, so it can't affect any kind of stress or sleep. When used internally, it's good for anything you're treating internally, like gastrointestinal problems. It's better for pain that is kind of all over type of pain. And for anything that you want to affect your brain with, sleep or stress, you have to take it internally to have CBD have an effect there. Dosing, there's no standardized dosing for CBD, which can make things a little complicated. A standard dose, an effective dose or an average dose might be anywhere from 5 milligrams way up to 50 milligrams, which is a really, really broad range. And in order to figure out your dose, some trial and error can sometimes be warranted. So the common advice is to start with a really little dose, like 4 or 5 milligrams, or maybe even less if you're super sensitive. You stay at that little dose for a couple days, then go up to a slightly higher dose, stay there for a couple days, go up to a slightly higher dose, stay there for a couple days, and you keep on going up gradually until you see the results you're after. And I would recommend using CBD consistently for at least 2 weeks before you decide it isn't working for you. I've talked to lots and lots of people who say, oh, I tried CBD, it didn't help. But they might have taken it just once or twice or 3 times, or they might have started with a dose that was on the bottle and never moved forward from there, and they really just didn't give it enough of a shot. CBD is very, very safe. It's got a very, very benign side effect profile. However, it does interact with some medications. The real medications to be concerned about are cancer chemo, seizure medications, and blood thinners, or any other medication that has a very narrow safety profile. For those categories of medications, you really cannot take CBD without clearing it with a doctor first. And if you're on a bunch of prescription medications, it's always a wise idea to run it by your provider before adding CBD. So how to source quality CBD? There are a lot of terrible, terrible CBD products out there. For example, on Amazon, if you go to Amazon and you search CBD, you'll come up with a ton of products to buy. However, it's very unlikely that you'd ever find any quality CBD product on Amazon. Why is that? Because CBD is against Amazon's terms of service. Amazon doesn't allow sales of CBD. So any company on there that's selling CBD is either a company that is honestly selling CBD, but they just haven't been caught by Amazon and kicked off Amazon yet, or they're selling hemp seed oil, which remember has no cannabinoids in it. They're packaging hemp seed oil in deceptive packaging to make consumers think that it's containing CBD oil. There's lots of unscrupulous folks out there wanting to bamboozle the innocent consumer and sell something that's claiming to be CBD or looking like CBD but is really snake oil in disguise. So your priority is to find a product that is safe and effective. Safety, of course, is of paramount concern. CBD itself is extremely safe. except when combined with a few different medications, as I already mentioned. However, any given CBD product might not be safe, and that's because it might be grown in contaminated soil. Hemp is what's known as a bioaccumulator, which means it sucks everything up out of the soil it's grown in. And it sucks everything, good and bad. So it sucks all the nutrients up to make it a really nutritious plant, but it also sucks up any pesticides, herbicides, or heavy metals that are in that soil that it's grown in. A lot of the cheap CBD products in this country are made with hemp grown in China. And China is infamous for its contaminated agriculture. And I would never take any product, any CBD product made from hemp grown in China. It's just not safe, just not worth the cheap price. In terms of effectiveness, there are a lot of very ineffective products out there. There are products that contain no CBD at all, like I mentioned, like the ones on Amazon. There are others which contain like a widely varying amount compared to what it says on the label. There's a lot of inconsistent products out there. So it's important to find a product that is tested. And a lot of products will have a QR code on it, so you can scan it with your phone and it'll bring you right to the test results. Another reason products might be ineffective is that they're made with CBD isolate. And I'll explain that. So basically, CBD can be divided into 3 categories. Full spectrum products contain CBD plus all the other cannabinoids that are in the plant. Remember, there's like over 100. I just put a few on here, including trace amounts of THC, plus other things like bioflavonoids, chlorophyll, terpenes, things like that. Broad spectrum CBD has everything in the hemp plant except they remove the THC, and that's for people who really want a THC-free product. CBD isolate is a highly processed product where they process the hemp and they separate out the CBD from everything else. They remove everything else, all the other cannabinoids, all the terpenes, all the bioflavonoids, and you're left with nothing but the isolated CBD molecule. And CBD isolate has been shown to be not nearly as effective as a full spectrum CBD product. There's something known as the entourage effect, which is the CBD and everything else in the plant interacting in synergy to produce an effect. And basically the whole is greater than the sum of its parts kind of thing, and it's way, way, way more effective than a CBD isolate. So, lots of terrible products out there. How do you source quality CBD? Let's see, you want to look for a product that's grown in the United States, because products grown overseas are of questionable, they can be great, but you just don't know. Our agricultural system has safeguards. It's far from perfect, that's for sure, but it does have some safeguards that will keep us safe. You want to have a product that's organically grown. That's even much more important with CBD or hemp products than it is to get organic food, because of the way CBD pulls everything up out of the soil. The best kind to buy is one that's certified organic, that has the USDA certified seal on it. That way, if it's certified, that you know that there's some oversight there. There's someone watching and making sure that the product is grown with clean organic methods. A lot of farmers use very clean and strictly organic methods, but they don't choose to become certified. Becoming certified organic is very expensive and time-consuming, and you can grow a fabulous product that's not certified, but it's just as good. And if you can talk to the farmer or talk to the company that's making the CBD and they can tell you about the growing practices, that's great. But having that USDA organic seal on there is sort of a shortcut to knowing all that stuff. You want to look for a full spectrum product. Again, that's going to be many, many, many times more effective than a CBD isolate product. The only exception is if you have to be drug tested for work or for a CDL or for legal reasons or whatever, then a full spectrum product, if you're taking it internally, that can make you test positive for THC, because those trace amounts of THC is enough to turn a test positive. However, even if you're taking a CBD isolate, some of the tests out there are not sensitive enough to figure out the difference between CBD and THC, and they can make you test positive even with a CBD isolate. So hopefully, the legal situation with hemp and cannabis it's a very rapidly evolving situation, so hopefully sooner rather than later that won't be so much of an issue. So I have a free guide that goes over much more about this. It's 7 questions to ask before buying CBD, your guide to sourcing safe and effective CBD products. And it goes over everything I talked about, plus some other considerations when you're shopping for CBD.